Good idea.
It's terrible. I just, you can just see it now. You watch the college games and they kicking players out for clean hits because they can't, tell what's a clean hit, from certain angles. So, I would rather that rule stay in the college than come up here and start messing up our game.
Is the pro game okay as it is, or does it need to be fixed in that regard?
And there has to be some changes. I feel like, the penalties got to be a little bit more consistent. But I feel like there's a better way than just, ejecting guys, for certain hits because you kind of just give them the leeway to it's a judgment call. Like what's, a hit that's worthy of ejection. And I could just see it now where, there's a clean hit, but it's bang, bang, and you can't really tell. So they just eject them, and then you have, a player gone for a hit that's, clean. And then afterwards they say, oh, man, we messed up. It actually was a clean hit, but that player, misses out on the game. And, you watch the college games and, a few of the college games that I've watched, I've watched, like, some key players, get kicked out of the game, whether it's a bowl game, whether it's a, big-time, game for a hit that later comes out that's actually was a clean hit. So I just feel like there's a better way to kind of police that.
A lot of this seems to be coming out of the Cincinnati-Pittsburgh game and what happened with Ryan Shazier maybe a little bit. I mean, as a player, when you see things like that, I mean, what do you think? And I mean, do you think they're trying to address player safety with some of this stuff? Or?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely definitely trying to find a way to address it. There's, obviously it's a big thing right now, and especially if you watch that game, you definitely want to pray for Ryan and his family, and it's a crazy hit. But there's there got to be a better way than just ejecting guys for certain hits or, my thing is just being consistent. You can't have a play that's not in the game of play be the same suspension that is a game that's in play, in my personal opinion. So, I just think there's a better way than bringing that rule into. Like, I just would hate to see that rule come into the pros because it makes me not want to watch the college game because I know at any second, a guy can be kicked out for a hit. And, I don't know how it is, but they possibly be suspended or for the half of the game or something like that. Nobody wants to see that.
When you close in on a ball carrier or an opponent, do you consciously lower your target zone knowing it's being called so prevalently?
Yeah, I can't. There's not too many times that I feel like I use my head when I tackle. I feel like you work out your shoulders so much, so you might as well use your shoulders. And I feel like the coaches do a good job of kind of like making sure we get our head out of the game. They show us film of, the way certain rugby guys tackle. And, you got to study that a little bit because those guys don't have helmets at all. And they're somehow, playing and surviving. So, I feel like if they can find a way to put their shoulder into the thing, I feel like with pads on and helmets, I can put my shoulder into them. And that's kind of how I do it. I try never to hit with my head.
So every iteration of the rule, they try to put more words around it to more clearly define what's a legal hit and what isn't. But when you're lining up that target, I mean, how much of that definition even applies to you? Because when you're lining up a target, what are you looking at?
I think it's from a defensive perspective, it's really hard for, a guy to be, you can be conscious all you want of how you hit a player and what shoulder you're going to hit with the player or anything like that. But as soon as the offensive player lowers his shoulder or lowers his head or puts his head into it, like, we can come and I can cover my shoulder and he can lower his head and his head hit my shoulder, but they still say it was my fault. So, it's hard to be conscious of that. You can be conscious of it, but, I don't think it's all on the defense, even though I feel like we're trying to do a better job of making sure we're not, using our head.
Just the run game they have in Fournette, what do you see out of Jacksonville's rushing attack?
They do a lot of good things. They got a lot of pullers. He runs really, really hard. They're going to get him to rock. I think this is probably one of the teams that run a little bit more than they pass. So it's going to be, kind of the same thing. You want to stop the run and put him in passing situations where you can allow the rush to kind of get to him. And, I feel like we're very confident in the possibility of stopping that.
Has much really changed with your run defense from those first couple games when you had some issues, or was it just a couple of plays that got away? Do you feel like in those ones, or?
Yeah, I think it was a couple things. A couple plays got away from us. We're still, still early on in the season, so you're still kind of trying to learn the people that are in front of you because it's a lot of new guys there. So you're trying to learn that, and then just being more gap sound. Just you have those. At some point in the season, you always have like a point in the season where you need to tighten your screws up, make sure everything like the details is on point. So I feel like it happened earlier for us. And, we're very conscious of it now, and we want to make sure that, we just make sure we stay gap sound. That's going to help us.
Having new guys come in, I mean, with the injuries and stuff, so having Bradley come in and Byron come back, stuff like that. I mean, how has it been, that communication? I mean, obviously, it seems like it's worked pretty well with those guys coming in, but how have you done that, kind of integrating these guys back into it and new roles and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, earlier this season, you just kind of like implement the same thing you did earlier in the season. You just, everybody's different. You can't, treat the way people learn, the way people communicate the same. So it's just, especially towards the end of the season, you have to just, figure it out as fast. But, it's not like, Bradley hasn't been here. He's been here. He just haven't, started or played like that. So, I've, developed a relationship over time. So when he stepped in, we, just kind of just ran with the relationship that we had, and we're doing a good job just communicating all across the board.
And the style that the Eagles played in on Sunday, was that just kind of a good, not reminder, but, kind of a test and a check to make sure that everything that had been implemented was working the way it was supposed to?
As far as?
Because the Eagles came in wanting to run the ball just like the Jacks do, and so you kind of have the same team back to back.
Yeah, so it's, when you have like a running team, kind of like plays in our favor because like we want to stop the run. That's what we want to do. So, if you're going to run the ball at us, it's just, you're going to test our gaps. You're going to test, how sound we are. And like you said, it is a test to see how on point we can be. And, we feel like if we stop the run early on and put them in more passing situations, especially when you have, offense clicking and, they score a couple points and now they're down 10 or down whatever. Now you got to, now you have to put yourself in a more passing situation because now you're down. So it just kind of all complements each other.
Do you see any similarities with what the Jaguars are doing and what you guys were doing a few years ago?
As far as defense?
Just as far as the whole team, the style of play and whatnot?
No, there's only one Seattle Seahawks. So
having the game move from 10 a.m. to 1:25, how does that help you guys as the players, just what that time difference?
We get more sleep. We get to sleep in a little bit more. I like night games. I feel like night games are good and they're fun to play. But like I said, the biggest thing to me is you get to sleep a little bit more, especially when you travel. You're trying to catch up on a time difference, to be able to sleep in a little bit more and, use those extra hours to kind of, study a little bit more and things of that nature definitely helps you out.
The Eagles got a few rushing yards on you early in that game Sunday, and then it really kind of tightened down as it went on. Did something change? Anything change at halftime at all with that, or?
No, they just came out and did a little bit more. I think they got us on a zone read a little bit more than we expected. That's pretty much was it. But as far as their, the runs to Blunt, runs to, those type of guys, I feel like we're pretty on that. It's just we had to be very conscious of, them actually wanting to use Wentz in the running game.
What kind of challenge has it been for you the last few weeks, not practicing a ton, playing through the hamstring issue that you've had, and still doing what you do?
Well, I mean, it's gotten better, each week, obviously, because, I feel better. But the week that I had hamstring, it was, kind of just test your mental focus. And I just had to take a lot of mental reps and get my body right. I spent that whole week trying to get my body prepared for the game. And that's kind of what it's been. It's just, I feel like I'm very strong mentally, and that's just a test. If you can't get out there, you have to be able to get the mental reps, be able to, figure out a way to kind of envision yourself, making those plays, but actually not doing it, on the field.
Anything else? Thank you.
Good. Appreciate it.